Hey YouTube, Med here, just bringing you an up-to-date Demon Hunter guide. So I'm going to be talking about our PvE talents, our dungeon talents, and our PvP talents, and pretty much Azeriate traits as well with these. So basically what you want to know, there has been some changes. We're running Blind Fury now, or Demonic build, for PvE circumstances. This right here would probably be the best build I see people run, or with Unleash Power. It's situational. Unleash Power for ads. Master of Glaive. You want to hit a boss far away and you can't hit it because of a mechanic or something. But this right here is the build. Um, the only change that I've been seeing, just from like logs and just in general, is there's certain fights, or mostly Zol, where people run Fel Barrage, and that's just because there's a heavy ad phase for a short time, and they spawn consistently at when Fel Barrage is back up. Other than that, I would say stick with Trial of Ruin or run Fel Barrage if you have no Azerite traits like of the Revolving Blades. Right now, they kind of fixed the Azerite trait, however, so the raid ones are actually doing better than 340 ones. And I'm going to get into that right now, actually, since I have you here. So I've been running, again, if you saw my last video, the 3 Revolving Blades, and it has been putting me at the damage top pretty up there. The only time I ever change one of these 340 traits would be for my 355 trait, with the Archive of the Titans. And I'm so glad this got buffed. I'm still trying to figure out if this is good on open world as it would be in raids. Because right now, the only thing that's making this super great right now is that buff right there, the Recognition Array. So what that does is, when you kill 3 bosses or more in a raid, you get a permanent stack on that, which increases your secondary enhancement, your highest enhancement. So when I go in there, I have like insane amount of haste. The only problem with this is it doesn't carry over into Mythic Pluses or PvP circumstances. So I always have to switch back to my 340. Potentially, if this was maybe a 370, I could totally see this being more used than my 340. But since I only have a 355, I switch back to my 340. Just because Azerite stacking is a thing. Now, for Mythic Dungeons, however, I go back to my 340 piece. I stick with my Revolving Blades and the heavy ad damage, and then I stick with the same build you're seeing. Just because I use Netherwalk to drop aggro, I don't use Fel Barrage because it's only a minute cooldown. I have 3 Revolving, Trial of Ruin, First Blood, and it's just consistent damage. For raiding circumstances, people aren't really using Momentum or Nemesis anymore just because raid fights are so situational. The only time I can probably see Nemesis being used is if they're highly geared and they're pushing a fight under like 2 minutes or something. Which can happen. I haven't seen it happen, but 2 to 3 minutes of a fight and they're pushing with Nemesis, it's a high parse. Your best bet is to stick with Demonic though. It's consistent damage, it's really good, and it's less management. Now, so that would be pretty much it for the Mythic Plus and the dungeon or rating guide. It kind of sucks at the moment the way they have the system, especially because you can't get any other Azerite traits other than your weekly 10 chest, or yeah, just pretty much your weekly 10 chest for non-rating Azerite traits, which I don't really like at the moment, Blizzard. I mean, we can get the PvP ones from like the World Boss and stuff like that. The only problem with those is like the stats are pretty not that great. I really do hope they try to implement something to help fix this, but at the moment I stick with my 340s just because they do better. Another thing I wanted to let you guys know is because I have been getting back into PvP, I wanted to give you guys a PvP talent guide. There's a YouTuber I watched, I can't remember his name right now, but I'll go ahead and put his link for his YouTube channel in the description. He's really great Demon Hunter. Learned a lot from this guy. I was PvPing with the old Fellblade Demon Blades build, and that kind of just, it wasn't consistent. I was flopping over, I was dying, so I was running like these talents pretty much, like the PvP talents that Demon Hunters used to run, and it wasn't cutting it for me. So what he said was, try demonic builds. Basically, run the Blind Fury, run the Omulation Aura, Netherwalk, First Blood, Fell Eruption, Demonic. And I gotta say, this works great. It's consistent. It's heavy cleave damage. You're constantly in demonic form, which feels satisfying. And it's a really great system. The problem with Demon Hunters right now is we do crazy damage, but if you don't time your spells correctly, your CCs, your blurs, your defensives, you flop over pretty quickly. When you're in meta, that damage you're doing in meta is great, especially with a healer and stuff like that. So it's pretty good to run. What you want to run though is Fell Eruption. You need Fell Eruption. These other two are pretty good, but you need Fell Eruption if you're running Demonic, because you hit them with a Fell Eruption, then you go into a full Blind Fury, so they take that full eye beam damage, and then you just, once they're out, you're just whacking on them. So it's really good to run. For the talents though, these where it gets all heavy situational. Reverse Magic if your reverse is a hunter to get the trap off. Rain from Above if you're in a heavy melee comp and you need to get out of their crazy burst damage or something's happening to you. Demonic Origins for that 2-minute cooldown and the consistent passive damage. The honor traits are always consistently changing depending on the cops you're fighting. I can't really get into those for this one video, but if you guys want an honor talent guide, I'll go ahead and drop that down for you guys. And this is probably like my second day of just PvPing, and I think we did pretty good. So what I ran was Disc Priest, Demon Hunter. We fought a lot of Resto Druids, but we did pretty good. And then for threes, we did Demon Hunter, Red Paladin, Disc. And for the after, you can see the changes. So the earlier matches were with a friend and we were just playing just to get the cap for the weekly piece. But for this week, I did the demonic build with the Red Paladin and Disc Priest, and we just were on a winning streak. Damage was just everywhere, consistent. It was pretty good. Now, that would be pretty much for the PvP talents. The main thing that sucks right now is for PvP though, however, the Azeriate traits, I've been trying to look up if they matter, if they don't matter, how does it work, and it looks like it does kind of matter a bit. Azeriate traits do matter in PvP and PvE. They're not crazy, but it's there. So going with like the revolving blade stacking is just going to make your revolving blades hit much stronger. You do more consistent AoE damage. So again, for PvP, I still stick with the revolving blade 340s. I tried looking into the PvP ones, but for right now I can't really figure out too much on this like combined might. I know how they parse in raids, but I don't know how they actually work in arenas. I've been trying to get some more information on that, and once I do, I'll go ahead and make a more in-depth PvP Azeriate trade and talent guide for you guys, specifically what you should be running against what classes and stuff. But that pretty much does it for the talent guides. I hope this helps you. It's pretty much what you want to know and what you want to run. If you have any more questions, just go ahead and leave a comment. Hope you liked the video, and I'll be trying to put more of these up more often. Thank you very much.